Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending the Culture Symposium. Our paper is called Archaeology in a Company Town, the case study of Chan Chich Archaeological Project. My name is Tomás Gallareta Cervera, and I will be presenting the paper in place of Claire Novotny, who is currently sick. We would like to thank the organizers, the Heritage Education Network, Belize, for inviting us to participate. Our work in Belize is sponsored by the following organizations who we would like to thank for their support. Communicating knowledge about the past to the wider public has been part of archaeological research for decades now. In Belize, public outreach is a condition outlined on the excavation permit by the Institute of Archaeology, but activities involved in engagement are left to the discussion of the archaeologist. Indeed, archaeologists go beyond the dissemination of archaeological research materials. Much of the literature on engagement focuses on descendant communities who have the biggest stake in the creation of knowledge about the past. However, less analysis has been done about archaeological projects who engage communities geographically local to archaeological sites, regardless of their ancestry or descent. Non-Maya local groups are also important stakeholders and audiences for archaeological research, as are tourists. It is from this vantage that we consider the challenges and opportunities of public outreach among those residing and visiting the Chan Chich Archaeological Site and the greater Gallon Jug property. The Chan Chich Archaeological Project, or CCAP, is located in northwestern Belize, a land owned by the Gallon Jug State's agribusiness. The communities of Sylvester Village and Chan Chich are company towns built in the late 1980s that draw people from all over the Central America to work in the agribusiness, and a Chan Chich Lodge as laborers, cowboys, mechanics, servers, cooks, among other jobs. As a result, no one really has a deep tie to the land or its history. Very few residents have generational ties to the area, and most have lived there for fewer than a decade. For this reason, the CCAP has struggled with how to disseminate information about our research to local people. The Chan Chich Archaeological Project and its regional component, the Belize Estates Archaeological Survey Team, operate in northwestern Belize on lands currently owned by Bowen & Bowen and the Belize Maya Forest Trust. Our permit area covers 590 square kilometers, or roughly 145,000 acres, of mostly forested land. Prior to the 1850s, this part of Belize was largely unexplored by Europeans, but as mahogany became increasingly important to the fledgling colony, logging companies began to push into the region. During the mid to late 1800s, Qualm Hill Camp was the seasonal headquarters of British Honduras Company, or BHC, which became the Belize Estate and Produce Company, or BEC, in 1875. Qual Hill Camp is within our permit area and important to the history of Belize, as the site is an infamous Icaiche Maya raid that resulted in the death of one Garifuna man at the camp and the capture of around 80 other men, including women and children. Archival data suggests that BEC began the railway in 1910 at Hillbank and gradually pushed the track deeper into the forest, reaching Sierra de Agua at 1927, O'Meal in 1939, and Gallon Jug in 1942. Gallon Jug became the headquarters for the company and grew into a small town with an airstrip, a school, a police station. By that time, BEC was the largest logging firm in Belize during the 20th century, ultimately possessing over half of all privately owned land in Belize before going bankrupt in 1970. With the bankruptcy, BEC abandoned Gallon Jug, and the former village fell into disrepair. We won't go into details of the rather complicated land dealings that followed, but in sum, Barry Bowen ended up purchasing a large chunk of the former BEC holdings and established Gallon Jug Ranch on roughly 125,000 acres in the 1980s. He reopened Gallon Jug and built a company town called Sylvester Village and at the former Sebal Camp. He also established the Chan Chich Lodge, a 12-cabana jungle lodge in the main plaza of the Maya site of Chan Chich. With a handful of old-timers from the BEC days returned when Bowen established Gallon Jug Ranch, almost everybody who lives and works there came from somewhere else. Hence, currently no one there now has a tie to the historic town of Gallon Jug. Following Bowen's death in 2010, Bowen and Bowen, the corporation that owns Gallon Jug Ranch in Chan Chich, has struggled to turn what was Barry Bowen's hobby into a profitable business enterprise. As a result, the number of people working at the ranch and at the lodge is less than half of what it used to be, and employee turnover is high, particularly among unskilled laborers. Following Bowen's death, his stepson contacted Hauk and asked him to restart the project. The CCAP began operating again in 2012 and added the entire Gallon Jug Ranch to its permit area in 2013. There have been further land deals since then, and today the project area includes what remains of the Gallon Jug Ranch, with its about 25,000 acres and a large portion of the newly established Belize Maya Forest Trust, which surrounds Gallon Jug. It is nearly universal to say that archaeological research is defined by the local land use and ownership. The CCAP, like many others, is shaped in part by the history of restrictions and priorities of the Gallon Jug organization, as detailed above. The project is viewed by management as guests of the lodge, and as such, we are constrained in where we go, what to do, and with who we interact. Our status as researchers grants us access to some parts of the landscape, such as archaeological sites, but not others. For example, we are disencouraged from socializing in the villages. Employees of Gallon Jug also have restricted economical opportunities because they do not own the land on which their village sits. Thus, we are conducting research about the past in a landscape tightly managed by Gallon Jug, which is why we view it as a company town. Given this complex and transactional history, the CCAP has focused its engagement efforts on multiple audiences: local community members, specifically school children at Casey Community School in Gallon Jug, and a broader international audience, including tourists who visit the Chan Chich Lodge and give clicks to at their social media. Though Sylvester Village may be characterized economically by short-term employment, there are established families who send their children to Casey Community School. The school is located on the Gallon Jug Ranch and includes a preschool, kindergarten, and primary school offering standards 1 to 6. The school serves Sylvester Village and children from the Chan Chich area. However, older children leave the community to attend secondary school in Orange Walk or Cayo. CCAP project members attended the primary school graduation every year, and both Brett Hauk and Tomas Gallareta Cervera have been invited to speak at the ceremony. In 2018, the project partnered with Casey Community School to visit students and discuss our recent work at Chan Chich. The staff visit included a hands-on display of artifacts. These included stone axes for chopping trees and cutting grass, obsidian blades for cutting food, ceramic whistles, and historic coins from the Chicle gathering era. The students were never shy. They asked multiple questions such as, what were they for? Where did they come from? How old were they? And of course, did the Maya make them? As staff members explained the function of artifacts, students felt a connection with objects used for everyday activities in the past. This connection is important because many of the children's family members come into contact with the archaeological landscape through their work as ranch hands or farmers at Gallon Jug and have worked with the CCAP as excavators. Speaking with the students creates a context for their family members' work as well as their observations about artifacts or sites in and around the Gallon Jug area. As part of the classroom visit, the CCIP project members Trudy Kilgore and Claire Novotny made an activity book to give to students. The books can double as coloring books and are an accessible and fun way to convey information. Though they are aimed at children, often parents or older siblings will read content or help with the puzzles as well. Importantly, they make archaeological information mobile and unfettered to foreign archaeologists who are only in Belize for a few months of the year. The CCIP coloring book includes basic information about archaeology and archaeological methods, as well as a cultural information interspread with activities like word search and maces. It provides a working document for the project to add when discoveries are made. For example, we plan to revising it and adding sections on mapping and finding new sites, such as Tiking Ha. Another avenue of engagement is through games. Games, whether for leisure, competition, or ritual activity, are a cross-cultural phenomena that can also have a didactic purpose. In 2019, we discovered multiple patoli boards incised into the floor of a residential structure at the site of Gallon Jug. We are designing a playable patoli game board based on the ones discovered at Gallon Jug that incorporates information about regional archaeological sites. The rules of Maya patoli boards are unknown, but we will use ethnohistoric sources to establish playable rules. Targeted primarily at children, but also at family members, we envision a game in which players roll dice and progress along spaces to reach different destinations, perhaps represented as local archaeological sites. Along the way, one might lose a turn or have to go back several spaces to keep it challenging. The back of the game board will have more detailed information about the Gallon Jug patoli in order to ground the game in a specific place, one that has meaning for local people. Similar to the activity books, game boards are also mobile means of distributing information. In addition to engaging local communities, we count foreign tourists as an audience as well. They are interested in archaeology and conservation. While working at Chan Chich, project members are available to the guests to give tours and updates on our ongoing research. In 2012, Brett Houck wrote a guidebook about the site for guests to follow along the multiple trails on the property that wind through the archaeological site. The Upper Plaza has been in the focus of excavation of CCAP since 2016. The project has worked with the lodge to update the signage in the Upper Plaza with new information about our discoveries with current, high-quality images. The lodge promotes conservation of the natural environment and shows how the cultural environment can also be protected and enjoyed. Our final audience is an international online community that is interested in archaeology and uses social media apps like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. During our 2022 season, Tomás Gallareta Cervera filmed short reels for our Instagram page with his iPhone, featuring different aspects of our fieldwork. Reels covered excavation updates, using technology in the field, and project traditions, among other topics. While our social media footprint is not that big yet, the reels are quick, visual, and entertaining ways to engage with a wider audience. You're watching an extended version of those right now. The transactional nature of the company town can make it difficult to visualize a cohesive community. Having said that, there are examples of families which sustain ties to Sylvester Village. There are multiple men who have worked as excavators on other regional archaeological projects since the 1990s. Children who were raised at Chan Chich and in Sylvester Village have come back to work on the property after finishing their education. The business also draws people from all over Belize, including people of Maya descent who express interest in learning about their ancestors. The history of Gallon Jug shapes what is possible for us in terms of community engagement. We contend that an important aspect of reaching out to interested stakeholders is meeting them when they are in terms of geography, but also of technology and interest. We think it's important for our research to make it into the hands of young people who attend Casey Community School who can share it with their families. Activities should also be approachable and fun, including games. Since some families may move on from the region, the activity book and game can be taken with them, and learning about archaeology is not tied to seasonal visits from the CCAP archaeologists. Tourists who visit Chan Chich can learn more about our research and conservation efforts by visiting the site and using the guidebook. Belizeans as well as foreign visitors may have access to social media and can keep up with the project through Instagram Reels. Communities are not monoliths, frozen in time and attached by gravity to space. Instead, communities change and people come and go for different reasons. People give meaning to places through the oldest cultural practice in the human cognitive repertoire, storytelling. And the material record is a critical element of storytelling. The archaeology helps to create and reinforce connections with the landscape. We hope that our project can contribute to the Gallon Jug history, no matter who lives on the landscape. Thank you very much.